Greetings to you, our viewers, and welcome back to N-Wealth Money Conversation, hosted here on N-Wealth Money TV. It's been a minute, but we are back, and this time round it's big and better. We are concentrating on the big topic, strategies for resilience. And so as we go through what we go through right now, there are key things that we can do in our businesses, in our ventures, to remain resilient and last. Now, stay back as we walk into the conversation. In companies, it's more common culture that the vision is to the leader. For the leader, how do they make the team on board and pursue the same thing?
The same vision. It begins by allowing them to input to what you have skeletoned. Again, a founder lays the foundation. So the team is on board when you allow them to input into the initial vision. When someone feels that this is what I contributed to, like my statement or my word contributed to this. When you ask them, if you had this company and you are the CEO, where would you want it to be in 5 years? And they tell you, ask anyone. There's a story given, I don't know how true it is, but I choose to believe it. When Ronald Reagan went to NASA, before they did the 1969 launch to the moon, 69 or 68, I'm not sure. He met a cleaner and he asked the cleaner, what are you doing? And the cleaner said, I'm taking the first man to the moon. You know, this guy had believed the vision that by then my cleaning is actually responsible for this man to go to the moon, which is true.
Yes.
Because if the floor wasn't clean, who knows what will have happened? Someone will have slipped on it, and the astronaut who's supposed to fly broken his leg. You know.
True.
So everyone, they're actually contributing to it. So that's the first thing. Give them an opportunity to input to the structure, to the initial statement. Give the statement, give the base that this is what I believe I'd want us to have. But what if it was your company, what would you want it to do? Then once they feel that they've inputted it, and you have to, be very wise about that process. The next one is share it to them and let them also give their feedback. We want to go here. What are your thoughts? And make it as casual and sometimes as official as you can. Walk and meet. We've seen Bob Collin was probably one of the greatest CEOs our country has ever seen, and we see how much interaction he had with his organization. And so how can you do that? In fact, in a team of 5, 10, you rub shoulders with these guys on a daily basis. How can you ask them? And when someone feels that they're inputting, and when you even ask them, they feel like, okay, this person actually cares. And they input to what you've presented. And then another one is set it up. Set it up, make sure it's somewhere where they can see. On a daily basis, when they are, just read through it. Remind them in weekly meetings. Guys, remember that our vision is to do this. Remember that our vision is to do this. Remind them, because it even reminds you. You also remind yourself. We find ourselves even in our homes, we get to forget some of the things you're supposed to do. But by constantly reminding ourselves, by constantly seeing it, by constantly feeling it, we partner into it. So you do that, you get them involved in the initial setup, get their opinion once it's up, and then place it visually in a place where they can always interact with it.
Wow. Well, thank you. I like that. Now, for this vision to work for the organizations, I do hear most people say you have to develop structures to support your vision. How true is that, and how is it supposed to happen?
If you're planning to go to town and you want to get to town, and you've told everyone you're going to town, the next question they ask you is how.
Yes.
And if you can't answer how, it doesn't matter. You will not get to town. And then the question becomes, how do you want to get to town? And in what way do you want to get there? And in what time? So there's always the vision, the bigger vision. Sometimes it might not look even achievable, might not look, realistic, it might look like just a statement. But under the vision, you have now to come up with very clear goals. And get specific with these goals, and especially when you're doing your annual strategic plan. We want to increase our sales by this amount. We want to increase our team by this amount. We want to streamline our costs by this. We want to. The more specific you are with your goals, it becomes clear on what people need to do then on a daily basis, on a monthly, on a weekly basis. So now, if say you want to increase our sales by 1,000%, that means that right now we have 10 sales and we want to get to 1,000 sales, for instance. Then the question is, for us to get 10 sales, what did we do? Then how can we replicate that 1,000 times and get 1,000 people? You know, and so what then you do is, once you have set that goal, the vision, the goal, and now you set milestones and steps towards the milestones. So you're getting 1,000 people by the end of the year. That means you're getting how many per month? Divide by 12. How do we get these people? We need to do this on a weekly basis, on a daily basis. Break it down. Break it down and adjust, and make sure now that you yourself and your team know every day, this is what we need to think about, this is what we need to do. Every week, this is what to think about, this is what we need to do.
Yeah.
And therefore you move. You need to have action plans. You need to have activities that people need to do. For small business owners or founders, sometimes that becomes difficult because you focus on the front end of the office, how to get work projects from yourselves to the clients, and you make money.
Yeah.
But continuity, the vision is normally bigger than the daily activities. And so how do you break down what you need to do on a daily basis and what you need to do greatly to get to where we are? So make sure that you're breaking it down evenly, and then get innovative now in those steps. If you need to improve our social media, because most of our clients came from social media, how do we ensure that we have a better social media structure, better social media strategy? Do we have a day-to-day plan for social media? We don't. Are we able to make it? We are not. Can we get someone to help? Yes. Do you have a budget for that? Now you're building the car. You're building the vehicle that you're going to need to get to town.
Yeah.
And a business vehicle has so many moving parts, and they all need to be moving.
Yeah.
If there's one tire missing, the car is not going to move, or it's going to scratch all the way to town.
Yeah.
So yes, break down to different parts and different building blocks of a business. For a small business, on an SME, look at what you call the 9 building blocks of the business model canvas, and make sure that all these are very accounted for, and they're broken down to what you need to do even on a weekly and daily basis to achieve that vision that you want to achieve in a year or 5.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just mention the 9 what?
There were 9 building blocks. The 9 building blocks of a business model.
Okay.
You get it from what you call the business model canvas.
Okay.
Yes, it's customer relations, value proposition, customer segmentation, business activities, key partners, key resources, your cost structure, your revenue structure, and your key channels, your delivery channels. Those 9 are enough for any small business to make sure they have a very good system.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Thank you for that. Now, talk a little bit about values and the vision. How do they relate?
Values and the vision.
Company values and the company vision.
The vision is where you want to go. The values are what you stand on to get there. Again, the business takes shape, its leader. If you don't have values, if they're not things you believe in, and they're things you cannot compromise on, then the vision might just keep on changing. So as an organization, there are things you say as an organization. This is the kind of culture we do. We cannot mistreat our people. You cannot mistreat one another. And now, you see, values, we write these values down. So many times you have integrity. But the best values are the ones we constantly repeat to one another in the organization daily, and the things we say on a constant basis that we cannot stand. We cannot stand insults in the office. We cannot stand, harassment in the office. We cannot stand bribery in the office. We cannot stand, even conduct, just how someone dresses and someone conducts themselves in the office. There are ways you decide as an organization, these are the values we stand for. And that comes again from the leader of the organization, but is highly contributed by the team. The organization molds from how you carry yourself out more than even what you say. So if you say that we cannot come to work, say, intoxicated, it doesn't matter how sharp you are, you cannot come to work intoxicated. You can't say that and then come into work intoxicated. No, you decide, if you're not going to do it, I'm not going to do it, neither is anyone going to do this. And you all come to work and go. Those are the simple values. I believe it's the 1, 2, 3 things every day that you have to do, and you have to insist on yourself, and the team also buys and insists on.
So is there a time that you're supposed to do to scan the environment to understand the product that you're going to sell before you start it? And then secondly is for startups, what are the key things they need to do so that then they're able to start it right?
Okay, cool. In terms of period, there is no defined time that you can get to research. I've had and I've interacted with guys who had an idea on a Saturday, launched it on Monday. By Friday, they're already recording revenue because the market was just ripe, you know. The others who've taken a year or two to plan. When they finally started, it didn't work out. Others have taken, even 3 years to organize, and then they started, it took off. There is no particular period of time. It depends on the business. It depends on the idea, how complex it is. And so the time you need to research is based on what you need to start. What you need to start. The market will tell you more about your product. So if there is so much investment going into the business to start, you'd rather probably do a bit more research. However, if you don't need so much investment, you just do a bit of research from the competition, from the market, about the product, and go to market as soon as possible. You get better feedback from an active product or an active service than if you waited for it to be perfect. In fact, there's a saying in the startup world that if you launch a perfect product, you've launched too late. Yeah.
Good, good. The key things that people need to do at the startup stage so that they get it right.
One, research. And research in this, the best way to research is one, you start with your family and friends, the easiest guys to give you feedback. Then once you're done with them, talk to the market. Before you even go to the market, first do a simple market understanding. So there is nothing new under the sun. There is no new business. Excuse me. If it has been thought, if there is a need, the need is being solved. In this way, if you cannot, if some people want tea, the reason they want tea is probably they want to quench their thirst.
Yes.
And so if the need is quench their thirst, they're either using tea, coffee, water, soda. The need is there. So human beings have their needs being met. And it happens that your product and services meet those needs. I had a statement last week. People are not looking for a quarter-inch drill. They're looking for a quarter-inch hole. So if it uses a drill, if it uses a 20-foot, piece of metal, it doesn't matter. All they want is a quarter-inch hole. So you realize that simply tells you that one, if there is a need, there is already someone addressing it. And even ignoring it is what we call ignore limited is one of your competitions. So you have to understand how that works. So learn from other businesses, learn from that need, talk to the market, and ask them. Don't box them in their answers. Basically, ask them questions that they'll get as honest as possible with you and tell you if they're actually going to buy it or not. In fact, phrase the questions in a way that if I brought these things tomorrow, actually, I'm bringing them next week. Do you guys want to place an order? Listen to how they respond to such an extreme. Then they will, because they'll get much more honest when they feel that their resources are now getting, involved. They become a bit more thoughtful into it. So that's what you should do.
Wow. So in your earlier statement, you talked about the survival stage, and the common understanding has been that that takes about 6 months.
Yeah.
Is that cast on stones?
Not really. So we've seen businesses like huge companies like Amazon that broke even after 20 years. Companies like Uber that registered book profit a few years ago and have been in existence for so long. It depends on the kind of business you're doing. There are businesses that are they require a lot of money to set up, and therefore they're going to take a longer period of time before they break even. There are businesses that don't have much. You just need to go to market and start getting revenue, and within no time you've broken even. The rule of thumb is the business at least is measured within the first year. So within the first year, if you're able to get to the first year, you can even have your books. You can look at your books because your books have 1 year at least. The second year is the second measure. Then from that it's the third year, then the fifth, and then now proceeding to the 10th, 15th, and 20th. Normally that's what you use to measure. 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. But as the business grows, you should be able to measure how effective it is. There are things that will milestone at 6 months, there are things that will milestone at 10. And so it's important for you to understand the nature of your business and what exactly you're doing so that you can get to know what milestones and their period and how you can get to measure them. Yep.
So sometimes we throw in the towel earlier, and there are those who take time to realize that actually they need to change something.
Yeah, there are times we give up too early. There are times we just give up too late.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, yeah. There are
yeah.
times when you're almost there, you're probably just almost breaking even, or the next probably order will have been big. And then at times you've just stayed too long. You've been in the pitch for too
Long.
long. You're wasting resources. You're wasting time. Sometimes it's a hard part because when you set up a business, we become so attached to it.
Yes.
It's the statement that guys within the workplace are given. You're told that you spend much more time with your workmates than with your family.
Yes.
You know, with them for 8 hours,
Yes.
and then with your family for 4 or 5 hours before you go to bed. And so for a business person, it's worse
Yeah.
because you're spending time with your family, with your business for longer, and then when you go home, you're just thinking about it for another 2 hours.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
and so it becomes sometimes you become very emotionally attached to
Yes.
your business, which you shouldn't be. So it's easy to let go. So an exit strategy at the beginning is normally very important. So at any given time, you tell yourself, I'm giving myself 6 months. And these are the things that I'm going to use to measure. I either have this amount of clients, I either have this amount of income, I have this amount of followers, for instance, if you're going online. Just set those milestones. Then those are the ones that will tell you when to stop, when to pause, when to rethink, when to restructure, when to pivot. They are the ones to tell you. And these are not things you just come out of with the blues, from the blues. You know, you can't tell yourself I want to make sales of up to 10M for a product that you may be making margins of 10 shillings or 20 shillings.
Yeah.
It means you're doing mass sales.
Yes.
And you want to do that within 6 months. You're not being realistic. The idea is you also have to understand the market scape. So
Yes.
other competitors, how are they selling?
Yeah.
If it's a shop, can you sit in that shop and see how many guys are successful shop? How many guys walk into that successful shop? How many guys take orders from your competitors on a particular period of time, and then use that as inspiration to how you're to the time you're going to keep, and also understand how much capacity you have, both financial and your general wellness resource. If you have money to run the business for a long period of time, you limit, but you at least you have the capacity to test the market for longer. If you do not have, you have to think at it differently. So it's a measure of a couple of factors. But what we miss to do, and what very many entrepreneurs don't do, is from the word go, you do not set that goal. You don't set that vision, and you just go in with the flow until you are asked, when is it time to give up? Make sure you just have those metrics.
Yeah.
And for starters, have them in 3 months. Then after 3 months, do it quarterly for the first year or so. Then as you move forward, you can probably stretch out the time. Yes.
Wow, I like that. Now, in your experience with interacting with the startups, and especially those who are struggling during the survival stage, are there times when you've told guys, "Hey, guy, pack up and go," and are there times where you've told people to think your strategy, and what might have informed you, telling somebody pack up and go, and tell person B just rethink your strategy?
Yes, the most painful thing, just like a doctor would, there's nothing as bad as a doctor telling someone, we I don't think there is much you can do. You just go home and spend
Yeah.
your last minutes.
Yeah.
It's very painful. And for a startup, again, as I mentioned, it's such an emotional thing. When you're setting up a business, you get attached to it.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be so much attached to it because the business is its own entity and you are your own. When I've studied business psychology, and it's just basically trying to understand how people's minds work when it comes to their relationship with work, with business, especially their businesses, and realize that there has to be scientific objectivity. So by the time I give a startup or a founder counsel that I think it's time for you to reconsider, we have we've not seen growth, we've not seen a future here, and we don't want to inspire and motivate you. We can't motivate you to sales.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless there's nothing you're not doing. If you've tried everything and it's not working, I can't motivate to talk you to get sales. If the clients are not buying, they're not buying.
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know,
true,
you know, if the product is not working, it's not working.
Yeah.
If the team, you're losing the team, you're losing the team. So
Yeah.
there are these things that are realistic. And if there is no clear way out, or at least if you've tried as much as you can, and then you get to a point to realize, at what point do I exit before things get thick?
Yeah.
And yes, there are times you've told someone you just need to give it more time. But again, it depends on the resources they have.
Okay.
But resilience is one of the things in business that you really, really need, and a very sharp mind to tell the difference between when to stop and when to keep going. But most of the time, if not all, it's you have to look at the numbers, and then you have to trust your gut. How much risk are you willing to take, for how long, and how much do your resources support your risk? And get counsel and look at other businesses. You can easily make a decision at that point.
Wow.
Yeah, and it might not work for you. Someone else might take 6 months.
Okay.
Another might take 4 years. It might take 10 years and it might not work. So you have to accept that. And some businesses are not. They might not be. It just might not be yours. Yes.
Wow. Thank you. As part of our parting shot, now speak to my good friends on how to translate the just developed strategic plan or strategic document from writings to something that is working for them.
Right. First of all, if you've done your strategy plan for the year, good. Congratulations. The very first step of your year is there. You've made good progress. The next question is, how then do you move forward? If you've not done it, find a way to do it. Find time, create time. Squeeze yourself and get an hour, 2, 3 to work on a strategic plan. You'd rather plan and fail than plan to fail. It's a normal statement. You've heard it so many times, but it is true. Because when things either go up or go down, you need to know what exactly happened that made this thing work, or what did we not do, or what did you do wrong, and why this thing failed. And so I'd encourage you now, once you've done that strategic plan, break it down to activities. What are the things you'd love to do in this first quarter, the second, or the third? You can even start at least with the first quarter of the year. What are the things you want to achieve? And then list down what are the things we feel we should do on a weekly basis. If you're running SME and you just started it, make it as simple as even one-page document. As simple as possible, as long as it's executable. Make it realistic, make it easy. At the first quarter, at the end of the year, with all these documents that you've made, you'll be able to look back and say, this is what we did, this is what we didn't do. And you can definitely adjust from what you have. Anything not recorded is not done. So go for it, plan, and follow up with a plan. Where you failed, remember where you failed. Adjust next time. Where you succeeded, remember how you succeeded. Make it even better next time. But all the best. You got this.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was quite insightful. And I think I'm also going to redo my strategy just to look at it and develop an implementation matrix that I can also see towards the year that I did something.
Great stuff.
Yeah. Thank you, our viewers, once again for joining us in this particular session. Again, as we insist, remember to pick a point, remember to pick an action plan for yourself, so that then this stop just being an entertainment to you, but it becomes something that generates value for you. And one day we will pass by your neighborhood and say, this changed in your life because of what you watched. For this episode, again, remember to click the like button, share within your circle so that as many people as you can learn from this. And until we see you in the next episode, remember to plan and follow through your plan, and the Lord bless you.